My name is Jonathan Bertram, and we are here at AMF Penn Palace Lanes today throwing the Columbia 300 Madness. The layout that I chose for this ball has become my standard layout here lately. It's a 45 by 4 1/4 pin up. I wanted to give myself something that would give me a little bit of length down the lane, but also not be too long, shape a little bit in the mid lane, but still pop at the back end. Currently, my house arsenal has been the DV8 Verge Solid, the Dreamsicle ball as some people call it, the Hammer 3D Offset Attack, and my Columbia 300 Explosion I've been throwing in my home center in Decatur, Alabama. And this ball actually for me is probably going to go in my arsenal for Huntsville here at the Palace. It will be something that I step into after my Verge Solid. Once the fronts get beat up a little bit from that big cover stock of a ball, the Madness will give me length through the front end so I can clear that burn, but still read the mid lane and give me some punch at the back end for later in the block. So my first impression of the ball, I was quite impressed with it actually. I didn't know what to expect because other than the offset attack, which I actually got used, this is the first ball that I've thrown from the Brunswick line that has the HK22 additive in the cover stock. And I was very impressed with it. It did give me some length, but not too much. It's still, I'm assuming it's the HK22 that's in the cover stock that allowed it to read the mid lane but still go when it hit the friction at the back end of the pattern. So that was very impressive to me. For me, with this type of ball, like I mentioned before, I have the Explosion already in my arsenal, which for me is a very blendy kind of ball. When the lanes get too over under, I can get into my Explosion and that will blend the back end of the pattern off for me and just make it roll instead of snap. So when I get into something that's more of a midline pearl, like I think the Madness is, I'm looking for it to be a little bit cleaner through the front and then give me some punch on the back end. And the Madness kind of fit in my arsenal because my offset attack is probably 6 or 7 feet longer than the Madness before it makes a motion. So this kind of gives me the best of both worlds, I guess you could say. It gives me some length and clean through the front, but still gives me motion at the back end. Yeah, so for me, again, this will be a ball that I go into when the fronts get burnt and I need something to be clean through the front. This is where I'll use that ball. That's where it'll slot in. I may even be able to use it in a tournament setting because it does still read the mid lane, which again was very impressive with this ball, and it still gives you a good left turn at the back. So if I miss in a board or two, it holds just enough, but if I miss out 2, 3, 4 boards, that's okay because it still retains enough energy to get me back to the pocket. I can use it both in house and on tournament conditions. This is a unique shape for me because most pearls that are in that midline I get really over under with. And this one was not over under. So this was a definite positive in my book from Columbia. So I would recommend this for almost any bowler. It looked good for me throughout the session today. It gave me some hold when I would miss inside. When I would miss outside, it still retained enough energy to bounce off the spot. And as league bowlers or bowlers of any kind, that's always what we're looking for, is maximum miss room. And this ball gave me maximum miss room. So I think anybody can use it, whether you're speed dominant or rev dominant. I think you can slot it into your bag. I think this ball actually looks really cool. I was a little skeptical of the color scheme at first, but it does look good going down the lane. It swirls really pretty, and it has pretty good shelf appeal. And for me personally, Madness is a good name for the ball. A lot of people would describe me bowling as Madness sometimes, so that personally fit with me really well.